Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Transcending Together with Julianne, Lee, and Rachel.
Welcome back to part two. Good to see you here. If you're still with us, I hope you are. And if you found part two before you found part one, then here's a link to part one. Maybe go watch that one first. And so Carly was telling us about her frustration with the Grand Prix, the capitalism, the oh goodness. I will let Rachel and Lee come in here and share what their thoughts on this are.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as you started talking about Formula One, I got into Formula One a little bit, which I know is very much against my values. But I enjoyed watching it sometimes. But I found it very frustrating. Yeah, just that these countries are allowed to host, these big spectacles with, no kind of nod to the fact of what's actually going on, like in those countries. I mean, I think we saw sort of Lewis Hamilton in some of those countries wear a helmet with kind of the pride flag on, but he was one of the only people that actually vocally said, we shouldn't be racing in places like this because of their kind of track record on LGBTQ plus kind of people and how they treat them. But yeah, your point about I think we sometimes in the UK and the US and in kind of Western culture, we sort of put ourselves as the pinnacle of this is how we should be and this is like the way to live and the way to structure a society. And actually, we try to say, I think sometimes that we're better than other places, but actually I think we need to face the reality that we're not. There are lots of frightening things going on all across kind of Western society. In the UK, the kind of policies that are coming into effect around LGBTQ plus rights, it's frightening. Like, we are not this country anymore that actually is a place that is tolerant to everybody and is safe for everybody. And I think we're also kidding ourselves if we ever thought we were. Like, I think we actually need to recognize, especially the UK, our colonial roots as well. That comes into it as well. But yeah, I think it's very frustrating to see this narrative of, we're okay in the UK. I think I saw a list as well of, talking about traveling, like 10 of the best places to go if you're LGBTQ plus and the safest places. And the UK was on there. And I was like, who have they paid to put us on this list? Like, I don't think it's, in the top 10 places at the moment. I think it's frightening, what's going on in the UK at the moment. So yeah, we're definitely not this pinnacle of tolerance that we seem to sometimes sell ourselves as. So yeah, I don't know what you think, Lee, on that. But
Yeah, I mean, I just want to pick up on what Carly was saying about how these sporting events have got all the money behind them, and they're taking place in countries that have got shocking records against the LGBTQ community. And it just, you know, it reminds me of apartheid South Africa. The economic sanctions weren't working. So, what else do? You hit them with sport, and South Africa couldn't participate internationally in sport for, quite a long time. And it's just like, where is the outrage about how the LGBTQ community is being treated? And compare that to South Africa, and it's just like, where is it's like people have gone to sleep, and they just can't see anything other than their own selves. They don't realize what's going on around them. They're just very narrow-minded and carrying on, and it's just pure apathy.
I concur with that. And the sport washing is real. And I think that's one thing in the past that we don't look at them within ourselves. is that sport washing is a real thing. Yes, we look at it as far as it's easy to point at China and it's easy to point at Russia. It's really easy to point at the Middle East. And I mean, another example was the last men's World Cup in Qatar. I mean, how much vitriol was thrown at Qatar because of their human rights record, and rightfully so. I'm not saying that you don't do it, but I find it very interesting that all that vitriol got thrown to Qatar. But the next World Cup, which will be a joint North American World Cup, Mexico, Canada, United States, that there's going to be venues in 5 areas of the United States that have passed this ridiculous legislation that we're seeing right now. And no one is saying a word about that. There should not, for example, there should not be a World Cup in Miami or Dallas or Kansas City. That shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
There shouldn't have been a World Swimming Championship in Budapest or the World Athletics Championship in Budapest or, God forbid, the 2036 Summer Olympics in Budapest. Again, Viktor Orban is actively throwing government funding towards that end to have the Olympics there in 36. Remember the last time we had an Olympics in a year ending in 36. Same thing.
That's a very good point.
To me, it's the same thing.
Yeah, 100 years later, and we're still the same.
And we're right back to another totalitarian police state that rides down on certain people they don't like. And it isn't just the gays, it's the I mean, Viktor Orban is the best Republican politician in the world right now. He really is. He's more Trump than Trump.
Yeah, that's why
he
Trump
keeps
loves
getting
him so much.
Well, that's why you have CPAC, the CPAC conference in Budapest. And that's why they invite him over. They invite him over to the United States. The sport washing is real. And I think it's something we need to look at. But we also need to look at closer to our respective countries. Especially when it comes to sports. Later this week here in the United States, we will have a young transgender woman, college age, who will be competing for a national championship in her sport. It will be the first time this has happened in 2 years. It may be the last time this could happen in her sport ever because of the rule changes.
Is this Leah Thomas?
No, Leah is now in law school. Leah is going on with her life. There is a young kid at a small college in upstate New York. She's on her way to NCAA championships later this week. She's a sprinter. It's going to be an indoor track. And if she podiums, if she does well, the vitriol is going to be coming. And if she wins a national championship, even though she's at a college most people can't find on a map, the vitriol, you can bet Pierce Morgan is going to figure out where it is.
Yeah.
Even though Talk TV is an all streaming channel now.
Yeah, they lost 36.
We're going to talk about this.
I know, it was GB News. They lost 76 million last year.
I'm surprised anybody still watches the Andrew Neil channel. You know it's bad when the person who founded it is no longer a part of it. when Andrew, because it was so bad. That's when you know it was going down. But then again, I felt that they did certain things I knew was coming, like Farage getting a show, and Jacob Rees-Mogg getting a show. I mean, that's when you knew it was going downhill.
I mean, surely that must be a huge conflict of interest if you're a standing member of parliament and you've got a blooming radio show.
They're the Tory channel.
Yeah. I mean, as an almost clean sweep, of course, Liz Truss and Nigel Farage made an appearance at CPAC.
Liz Truss, I'm surprised. Liz Truss is the Maya Forstater of politics in the UK. Get a job, Liz. Seriously. Liz, you were prime minister for 45 minutes. Get a job, Liz.
Oh, lettuce head.
But those are the things you're going. I mean, that's the vitriol you're going to be seeing it come around again. I mean, you're seeing it. You have these so-called feminists, I call them feminists, picking on high school kids. They're picking
Yeah.
on literally kids.
I,
They're picking on high school kids. A kid. I mean, there's a high schooler near where I live in the U.S. state of Connecticut. Young transgender girl, transitioned very young, i.e., checked all the boxes that they claimed that you need to check. Oh no, you have to be transitioned by age 12, and that's nonsense. And she goes out, wins a high jump competition at a very prestigious regional meet up here in my part of the country. And there's these adults who claim to be so about women's sports picking on this kid. It's pathetic. I mean I mean it's a wonder why, and they wonder why so many trans kids in are dealing with so much anguish because they're seeing things like this, and they're seeing things like Next Benedict. The United States has its own Brianna Guy case now, and the school apparently has done nothing. Our Department of Justice now has to go into this school in the middle of the country in Oklahoma and have an investigation because the school I mean, all the guardrails failed, and they failed willingly, and that's the real sad thing about it.
Did you know we've got an absolutely wonderful merch store? You can buy merch from the show. You can buy this mug, which supports my rugby team, the Sussex Dragons. This is one of my favorites. This is best part of waking up, turf tears in my cup. We also have t-shirts, which support my rugby team, and t-shirts which express our dissatisfaction with England rugby for the way they've treated trans people. And for you bikers out there, we've got our Sisters on Steel Motorcycle Club. Scan this QR code or follow the links on tigergirl.substack.com. Now back to the show.
I think that's one of the things that
Yeah.
I get frustrated about with this narrative is that we don't, these people who are sort of on the right say, oh, we're protecting kids, we're protecting kids. And actually, when you look at the implications of their policies, it is nothing about protecting children, because we've already seen the evidence that these narratives that they are peddling result in have resulted in people dying. That is the actual result of what's happened, and children dying. And these kind of policies about sport as well, we seem to focus a lot on trans women, but actually when these policies have an implication for young girls who want to play sport in the gender that they are, in their true gender expression. And I think that's the implication that is lost in a lot of these conversations about sports, is this is affecting young people who want to be able to play, as they are, as who they were born to be. And that's the thing that really frustrates me. So yeah, I'm totally with you on, that kind of aspect being lost. And it's embarrassing seeing people like J.K. Rowling actually come for young people, young children. You just think, I don't know, I feel like she needs to get a life. I feel that her obsession with trans people is just weird. Like, I'm like, is there anything else going on in your life? Like, all she talks about is this. So yeah, it's baffling to me. But yeah, sorry for my hate on J.K. Rowling. I really, really don't like her. So yeah.
I find J.K. Rowling boring.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
it. I find her boring.
Yeah, she wrote some. I think I read a critique of her books where someone wrote that they were sort of middle of the road, average high school, boarding school. It was very formulaic. But I think the sad thing with J.K. Rowling is, for a lot of young trans people, they identified with the muggles, the people who weren't the purebreds like Malfoy and those snobby people. And there was this identification that you had with these characters who were different. And I really thought that she got that. But then the fact that she didn't even connect, didn't even realize, or did, so she's either got a conscious or an unconscious bias that the Gringotts Bank, what are they, dwarfs or trolls or whatever, are so anti-Semitic, and she's never been called out on that properly. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, she really needs to go and find something else to do. Lee, do you want to come in before you go? No. All right. Yeah. So, J.K. Rowling. Yeah, I was. You know what you were saying about, people. If I keep trying to get on the same panel, my goal is to get on the same panel on a TV station with Sharon Davies, and I'm going to have one question to ask her, and that is, outside of fighting to keep certain people out of the pool, what have you done for young people, for just young people generally? What have you done for your sport other than keeping people out of it? What have you done to bring people into it? How many swimming pools have you opened? How many schools have you gone to and spoken to about the benefits of swimming? What have you actually done to grow swimming as a sport in this country, as opposed to just using your platform to punch down on a much maligned minority group?
You know what the answer to that is. Sharon Davies, who, by the way, person I think that, I'm pretty sure that the NHS has provisions to help people get mental health services. I'm pretty sure they have that. I would suggest
No, it's
that
very
Sharon
underfunded,
Davies,
unfortunately.
just like most of the NHS, but I think that Sharon Davies should consider using those services because the woman needs therapy. It's been 44 years, Sharon. Sharon's problem is not with trans people. Her problem was with Petra Schneider. Well, Petra Schneider lives in Germany. Go talk to Petra Schneider and work whatever your issues are out. Transgender people have had nothing to do with State Research Plan 14.25 in the Deutsche Democratic Republic. Transgender women had nothing to do with it at all. And if there's ever one, if I could ever get on, say, Question Time, which is actually a dream, I would love to be on Question Time talking about these issues. That's the one thing I want to tell. I want to look Sharon Davies in the eye. Well, I want to do two things. First, I will serenade her with the East German national anthem because she believes the East German flag is the trans flag. I've been practicing the East German national anthem. I want to serenade her with it. And then secondly, tell her that Petra Schneider is your problem. It's been 44 years. Either deal with it with Petra directly or let it go. But leave me and leave my little friend Emily Waldron and my British cousin over there. Leave people like Sammy Walker, Truck United for FC. Leave Emily Bridges out of it. Leave trans people alone. We had nothing to do with what happened to you in the summer of 1980. We had nothing to do with that. Deal with your issue, whatever it is. And I extend that to all these terms. Whatever your issue is with transgender people, Maya Forstater, you said something transphobic at work and now you're out of a job. Deal with it. To the Tory party, you have problems with trans people. But then again, you have problems with anyone who's not white and male. Deal with that. Deal with that one way or another. Keir Starmer, whatever uncomfortable stuff you're dealing with trans people, deal with it. You will most likely be the next prime minister of the country. Deal with that. Leave us out of it. We just want to live our lives and we don't want to get messed with and we don't want to be bashed on the tube. We don't want to be told you can't go to. We don't want to, our kids do not want to be bullied in school. There is a kid in your country who cannot attend a school because she got bullied constantly every day. That would make me feel ashamed in a free society if you profess yourself to be a free society. Those are the things I'd want to deal with. But as for Sharon, Sharon's got issues, and the real sad thing is there's a lot of great athletes like Daley Thompson, someone whose poster was on my wall as a kid, who are buying into this, and I think it's sad. It
I
really
mean,
is.
even
But no,
Caitlyn Jenner as well. You know, when we
well,
actually get these people with a high profile, they turn on us. So
well,
we,
Caitlyn's got her own issues. You got to understand about Caitlyn. Caitlyn is dealing with has a lot of her own internal transphobia to deal with, and that is something. And that's something I hope we could touch into in this next segment, because what you're talking about, Julie, what you're talking about in regards to people coming together, one of the biggest things that keeps us from coming together is that we're all dealing with our own internalized transphobia. We're all
yeah,
dealing with it in one way or another. And anyone who says that, oh, I don't deal with it, they're lying to you. And a lot of what you're seeing, it's because of that. We don't, there's so much of our own internal shame that many of us deal with as we transition. There's so much of that. And I think that keeps us away from building the cohesive coalitions that we need to be building to move ourselves forward.
yeah, I'll take your lead there and use this as an opportunity to close out part two. So thanks for that. I don't know if Lee's monitor has frozen or she's fallen asleep. I'm not quite sure. Lee, are you still there? We'll take a quick break at the end of this segment and we'll be back for part three in a few minutes.